Israel will even persecute Palestinians for simply talking to journalists. Notes from the edge of the narrative matrix. Israeli soldiers have been harassing a Palestinian activist who appeared in Louis Theroux's recent documentary The Settlers to talk about Israel's apartheid abuses in the occupied West Bank. Issa Amro shared footage of IDS troops raiding his home over the weekend, days after Theroux's film debuted on the BBC. Israelis not only murder journalists, attack journalistic institutions, and block journalists from entering the Gaza Strip, they also persecute Palestinian civilians who speak with journalists. If you haven't yet watched The Settlers, I highly recommend doing so. It's so damning that I've seen people expressing astonishment that it made it past the BBC's censors, but really, what's to censor? It's an hour of Israelis telling a video camera what Israelis think in their own words. One of the best ways to tell the truth about the real Israel is to just point a camera at these freaks and let them tell it themselves. Theroux's interviewing style lends itself particularly well to this type of exposure. A ship trying to bring humanitarian aid to Gaza was drone-bombed by Israel near Malta on Friday. Activist Greta Thunberg was preparing to board the ship to travel with it to its destination. Which is just wild to think about. Things are so fucked up on this timeline that there is a non-zero probability that Israel ends up assassinating Greta Thunberg. Imagine the Western reaction if Iran had bombed a humanitarian aid ship trying to feed starving civilians. Imagine the reaction if Chinese forces were caught massacring medical workers in ambulances. Imagine the reaction if Russia bombed an international humanitarian aid convoy in clearly marked vehicles. It would be all we'd hear about for weeks. My social media feeds are filling up with footage of skeletal, starving children in Gaza. If we had sane and responsible news media in the West, this would be the lead story in every outlet and publication. But we do not have sane and responsible news media. We have propaganda services disguised as news media. People who continue to support Israel are only able to do so because they actively avoid watching the video footage the rest of us are watching. If I built a home and then discovered that it could only remain standing if I constantly massacred children, I would simply change my living arrangements. I would not claim my building has a right to exist. I would not spend years explaining why my child massacres are okay. I would not spend decades accusing anyone who criticized my child massacres of unfair discrimination against me and my family. I would simply change my building so that its existence no longer required me to routinely massacre children. If I could not find a way to restructure my building in this way, I would move. I would not do this because I am a remarkably kind and special person. I would do it because I am not a psychopath. Only a psychopath would want to continue living in that kind of building. Only a psychopath would want that kind of building to remain standing. I said the preceding on Twitter yesterday, and Israel apologists immediately came in yelling at me for saying evil things about Israel. But what's funny is that I never mentioned Israel once. I just talked about a building. They only knew I was actually talking about Israel because of all the stuff I said about constantly massacring civilians. Gets them every time. It's good that Trump's MAGA base opposes war with Iran so forcefully, but it's pretty revealing how absent they've been on Trump's butchery in Yemen and Gaza. They're not opposed to war or mass murder. They're just opposed to fighting people who are strong enough to fight back.